So my name is Philipp Karoshi. I'm responsible for portfolio management in RWA Austria in seed department. So I'm an agronomist. I studied agronomy at University of Life Science in Vienna. And after my professional education, I decided to move into breeding and seeds because that's just a very interesting area of working for me, because there's a lot of interaction between nature, genetics, agronomy, and that has fascinated me for a long time already. Well, product selection in seeds is quite complicated because we produce a certain product, which is the seeds, but what we actually sell is genetics. So that's more complex to evaluate because we have to go to different trials, to different sites to test our products, because our products are not a solid product that you can put into the storehouse. They interact with environment. So it requires us a longer period of testing, a longer time where we test our products, and we need to go to different locations to simulate different possible environments which could occur and affect our products. So how we do that is we have cooperations with a lot of different European breeding companies, and they trust us their latest genetic advanced material, and that's what we put into our trials. And that's a huge number of trials, and only a very limited number of that is going to the next stage of testing. So you can imagine that we test a few hundred new lines in cereals, in wheat and other cereal crops, also in soybeans and in all other field crops. And only about 10 to 15% of the lines move on to the next stage of testing, because we look at a lot of different parameters in 1 year and we evaluate if they are suitable for us. So when it's always very interesting for us when we move from one place to the other and we see that the genetic that we know, because the genetic is always the same, that's the wonderful thing about it, but how it is differently reacting when we go to another place. So when we move from Central Europe to South Central, like in South Romania, we see very different reactions in terms of a reaction to the temperature, to day, to the soil conditions, and we see also different diseases occurring, and that makes it so interesting for us. As I said, not only the seed that we sell in one season, but our actual product is the plant that the farmer is using to generate yield and income in the next year and hopefully in the years afterwards. And that can be tricky because we never know how is the climate situation or the environment in the next year. So the job is that our seeds are not only a solid product that we sell in one season, but it's the plant that the farmer is using next year to generate yield and income. And the challenge is to project how will be conditions for growing in the future. And especially climate change affects us in this. To forecast that, we have trial sites all over Central Europe. And this gives us a very solid basis to decide or to look which eventual environmental situation could occur in the next years. And that is the stability that we have to promise to our clients, the stability of our product. And this we can do only by testing it in different environments. So of course, one factor in production in agriculture is not a single factor that will solve the problem. It is always a systemic approach, and the mentioned climate change can also be mitigated by a systemic approach. So this is the agronomy of the farmer, and one of the key targets in farming under conditions that we face today and in the years to come is to keep the soils available, or to keep water available in the soils, so to sustain the fertility of the soils. And this is not only the fertilizer that is maintained in the soil. It is also a healthy soil structure that will be able to store the water. And all these things that farmers will have to do to maintain soil fertility, including low-till farming, will also affect the whole process of plant production. And our varieties do not only have to be able to withstand drought or hot temperatures, but they also have to work well with the new technology that the farmers will use. And they will have to adapt step by step to such farming, which will be important to mitigate climate change. Another thing that will affect us is also rules, for example, from the Green Deal or Farm to Fork strategy. Also, these rules will affect farming, and for example, cover crops will be more important in maintaining soil fertility. And again, we know these factors, and we cannot wait until they are put into practice. We already have to consider now what will be side effects of such crop strategies. And one example is that a longer period of green cover will also give new environments to insects who can transmit viruses. So we are also researching on new virus tolerances for cereals so that they can be more adapted to conditions where virus will be more prevalent in the next years to come. Very often people ask us if new varieties are really the solution to new challenges in farming, and why we do not go back to the roots, to old varieties. And, that's an interesting question sometimes, because our latest genetic, on the one hand, it is advancing in performance, in yield by modern technology, but it doesn't mean that we don't use old genetic. There are a lot of examples where we use single genes or single factors of old genetics, even from natural plants, from natural land races, and they give us a very high diversity of new characteristics. And again, virus tolerance is one example of genetics that is used from old plants and transmitted by technology into modern varieties. Well, on the one hand, my passion for this job is coming from my roots of agriculture. My parents have been doing farming. On the other hand, I just like the plants itself. I think that plants are a very reliable partner in a business relationship. Anytime when I come to a field, I always meet the varieties that I know already from another place. So it's always like coming home when I get to a new trial. And what is different is that it's always with new people. And when I come to a place here like Romania, I meet my varieties and see how they perform here. And I interact also with the people here who then use this product. And that's a very interesting thing for me. And finally, I think what we do is one of the most important things to maintain agriculture and to move to a new area of agriculture which will be challenging, but we are the only ones who can solve it by making it possible to sustain farming even under changing conditions. So very often people ask me what is the perfect variety, and there's no perfect variety in nature. There's no perfection in nature. The perfection that we can offer is to offer the latest genetics, which is a product of science and a lot of testing and commercial development, and to combine it with our professional advice how to use this product. And at the end, it is professional farmers who will then create their income from our products. When I come to a trial field, it is somehow like coming home, because I meet the same genetics that I know from other places already. And then it's interesting to see how they perform in a new environment. And I have a commitment to myself that I never leave such a trial without getting some knowledge to take with me home or to the next trial where I go.